One of the first times I hung out with Dawn was when we were playing a game of Scrabble. We were with a new group of people. We were all trying to get to know each other. And at that time, many years ago, my Scrabble skills were kind of limited. I would be the kind of person who would play with like a dictionary, just try to find a word with all these letters. Maybe I could try to find a word. And Dawn was opposite. She was quite competitive, and she found the idea of using some sort of word list ridiculous. But over the years, as we dated and were married, we played a lot of Scrabble. And during that time, my skills increased. I got better and better. Some claim it's the luck of the letter draw. You pull in the right letters and you can place them well, and the other person would get bad letters. But I would say it's more about playing the right word at the right place and being able to use not maybe large, amazing words, but the right word to get the right number of points, and also to block your opponent from being able to play good words on high point value spaces. And so over the years, I became the reigning champion of the Scrabble at the Reiss home. Even in our last game, I beat Dawn by about 2 points. It came down to me playing the amazing word high on a triple word score, also forming the words in and he, raking in over 20 points just for that one placing of 2 letters. And I'm not suggesting I'm the greatest Scrabble player ever. If I were to join those competitions where people play those not real words like QI in these games, I would do terrible. But if you were to ask me who is the best Scrabble player in the Reiss family, I can see my wife is back there rolling her eyes, I would say I am he. Now, it might sound egotistical or preposterous, but if it's true, if my Scrabble skills are so good, then I have some sort of value in this world. Okay, not really, but simply claiming to be an amazing Scrabble player doesn't actually make it reality, doesn't make it true. And in the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at different statements Jesus makes about himself. Statements that speak about Jesus' position in heaven and on earth and his unique claims to who he is and how it affects our world. Jesus makes statements like, I am the bread of life. I am the sustenance, the thing that will never leave you hungry in our world. He says, I am the light of the world. I bring light into your darkness. I bring what is hidden into the light so that you can see things clearly. He says, I am the good shepherd. I care for you. I love you. I protect you. I seek after you when you go away. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. That death is not the end. That life, true life, new life, life to the full begins and continues with Jesus through eternity. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. We live in a world that leads us down a path of lies that ends in death. But Jesus offers you the way of truth, the way that leads to real eternal life. And he says, I am the true vine. That if you want to grow and flourish and thrive in this world, then you need to stay connected to me, that he will give you everything you need to bear fruit in our world, true fruit, the fruit of God. Jesus made these remarkable claims that were meaningful and powerful, inspirational, and world-changing. As we examine these statements, we'll understand deeper of who Jesus is and what he has for us. what it means that Jesus is the bread of life, the thing that helps nourish our souls, and how knowing that he is the light of the world will help us live in a dark and depraved world. And understanding that Jesus is the good shepherd will help us discover the rest that he gives us in the green pastures and the comfort that he gives us as he leads us through the dark valleys. Jesus makes these amazing claims about himself, these powerful, inspirational claims about himself. But only these claims have validity if Jesus is who he says he is. Douglas Connolly says this: imagine standing up in an office meeting and saying, "I am the way. No one has access to God except through me." Or think how you would react if someone took a microphone at a funeral and announced, "I am the resurrection and the life. If you believe in me, you will never die." That person would be ushered out the door. No one would take such claims seriously. But these are the very words that we hear from Jesus. These are these I am statements that we're going to be looking at. These I am statements that John recorded throughout his gospel. These claims that Jesus had about himself that offer a deeper, more meaningful picture of who Jesus is and his purpose here on earth and all that he is hoping to accomplish. But they rely on one simple thing. They all hinge on the idea that Jesus is who he claimed to be, that Jesus who came claimed to be God. And if he wasn't, that he was not who he claimed to be, then how can he be the bread of life? How can he be the only way to God if he's not who he claims to be? How can he be the vine and we his branches? If Jesus is not who he claimed to be, then he is the most extremely manipulative and maniacal person, or he is just monumentally insane. C.S. Lewis, in his book Mere Christianity, says, "A man who is merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on the level of a man who says he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else he's a madman, or something worse." See, we can't just simply accept Jesus as a good man or a moral teacher. Because if we investigate, if he's claiming to be God, then we have to think about this even deeper. C.S. Lewis suggests that there are three possibilities when we think about who Jesus is and who he claims to be. The first is that he is a liar. That this man that came to earth who said all these great things was just making it all up. He was deceiving people for his own enjoyment, trying to manipulate them for some reason because he enjoyed the popularity or whatever. Or he's a lunatic. He's a crazy person who thought he was God, who had some insane delusions of grandeur. Or he is the Lord, that Jesus is the one he claimed to be. And so if we're going to look at these bold statements of Jesus, then we need to accept the foundational fact that Jesus is God. He is the Word that became flesh. He is the God who dwelt among us. And today, we're going to start by looking at a statement he gives to this woman at the well. We didn't get to see it, but she's come to this well, and Jesus engages with her in this conversation. He asks her for water. And then he says, "If you knew who I was, I would give you living water." And she has this whole conversation with him about where people can worship and who God is and who she is. Because and in that conversation, Jesus says to her, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. He who? Well, let's take a step back. First, we have to understand that the woman that he's speaking to is a woman who has a bad reputation. She's had 5 failed marriages. 5 failed marriages. We don't know if they ended in divorce or she was widowed, whether it was her choice to leave, his choice to reject her, but she has failed to find the safety and security that that culture demanded in marriage. So she was kind of alone. She was now living with someone who was not her husband, living in this relationship with someone that's at that time was frowned upon. She was an outcast, someone that nobody really wanted to spend time with. They didn't want to hang out with her. We notice that she comes to the well, not when everyone else would go to the well, because she didn't want to interact with her. She went in the middle of the day because she knew people were talking about her. And she didn't want to deal with the stare. She knew she was a social pariah, and she didn't want to take it. And so she came out to the well on her own when nobody else was there. And of course, Jesus being a Jew and her being a Samaritan, there was always this conflict that was there because the Jews viewed Samaritans as a defiled race, impure. You see, back when the Israelites were taken into exile during the Old Testament, there was a group of Jewish people that had stayed behind and Gentiles that had moved in, and they kind of intermarried, and this new group of people, these Samaritans, came out of that. And the Jews found that defiled. They found that a disgrace to God. And they never respected the Samaritans. They also, knew that they had a defiled faith. They didn't really know God. In fact, Jesus said to this woman that you Samaritans worship what you do not know. Because the Jews, they knew God. They had this covenant relationship with God. They had the law. They had all the prophets. But the Samaritans had a false understanding of who God was. That through the years, their faith had become a mix of Jewish faith and the Gentile religions kind of intermixing. And so their understanding of God was not the way they should be. The fact that Jesus would even talk to this person, that he would associate with her, even asking her for a glass of water was actually unimaginable, incomprehensible. But Jesus, he invites her, he takes up a conversation with her. And through their conversation, he begins to talk to her. And in that, he says to her, I am he. I, the one speaking to you, am he. You see, this woman was filled with questions. Questions that were brought on by a life of difficult circumstances. Questions about faith. Questions about how to live out her faith and what it really means for a person. Questions about her own meaning and purpose and worth. These are the questions that you and I would probably bring to Jesus throughout our lives. Like, why is life so difficult? Why do I feel invisible when people are all around me? Does God hear me when I talk to him? Does he care about me at all? Do I matter in this world? This woman had been led to believe that she was insignificant, unwanted, unlovable. Yet Jesus is sitting there beside her at this well, engaging with her, talking with her, giving her questions merit, showing her something that no one ever had done. Showed her she had worth, that she had value, that she mattered, that this woman mattered to God. And he would begin talking with her and providing answers and helping her understand the questions and traditions and how to be close to God. Jesus said to her, I am he. I, the one who is speaking to you, am he. He who? Still not sure what he's getting at here. So let's back it up just a second. She said to Jesus, I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. Jesus saying, that Messiah that you've been talking about, that Christ you've been thinking about, I am he. I am the Messiah. I am the Christ. I am the anointed one of God, sent by God, full of grace and truth. I am God in flesh, who is dwelling among you. I'm the one you have been waiting for, the one who is here to bring purpose to your life. I am he. I'm the one who you are talking to. I am the one you have been talking about. This woman has been asking about the coming Messiah to the Messiah. This Christ that the Jews and the Samaritans had been waiting for. Jesus says, I am he. I am he. I am the one standing in your presence. I am the one here offering you living water, a spring of life that will well up in your soul, that you will never be thirsty again. She knew that this Messiah was going to come, that the Christ would come and he would bring clarity, he would bring understanding, and she was waiting for that. And Jesus declares, I am he. I am here to give you clarity. I am here to help you discover the answers you've been looking for. I'm here to lead you to God. I am the one who will lead you into true worship of the Father. I am the one who will show you how to worship God in spirit and in truth. Before Jesus came, that the way that the Jews had access to God was through the temple. That the high priest would go into the temple, to the Holy of Holies, and he would offer the sacrifices to God. And so if you wanted to be close to God, you would have to journey to the temple in Jerusalem. But since the Samaritans were refused access to the temple, they claimed that God could be accessed on a local mountain, Mount Gerizim. But Jesus says to this woman that it's not about these places. He says, a time is coming and has now come when true worshipers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. To worship God, you don't need an access point. You don't need to go to some special holy place in order to connect with God. True worshipers have access to God wherever they are. Not by way of a temple or by a mountain. They have access to God in spirit and in truth. Worship happens not in a place, but in our hearts and in our minds. You don't need to go to a church or temple or mountain to experience God. Worship doesn't only happen here at 13 Hermit Thrush or on Zoom at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings. If you want to worship God, you can find him wherever you are, as long as you seek him in spirit and in truth. If you seek God with your heart and your mind, then you have access to God. As I said, the Jewish faith said that only the high priest had access to God. And that was only at limited times, in a limited space. But Jesus came, and he says that we all now have access to God at any time, at any place. All people, Jews, Samaritans, Gentiles, blacks, whites, Republicans, Democrats, whoever you are, all people are invited to worship God. In Hebrews it says, therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we don't have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weakness. We have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. So let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so you may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. Jesus is the one that we worship. He is the one that leads us into spirit and in truth, into the presence of God Almighty, so that all people have access. All people can come to God, no matter where they are. They come to him in spirit and in truth. As Darrell Johnson writes, you do not need to go to another place, for I am he. I am the very one you seek to worship. Jesus is the one that we desire to worship. He is the one who draws us close to God. And so as we look at these statements over the next 6 weeks, we start with the foundation of I am he. He is the one that declares to be the Messiah. He declares to be the Christ. He says he is the bread of life. He is the light of the world. He is the good shepherd, the resurrection and the life, the only way to God, the true vine. While living on earth, Jesus made these remarkable claims, these powerful claims that sometimes seem strange, that might seem too good to be true, claims that forever change our understanding and our worship of God, claims that only have validity if we accept the truth. I am he. That he is Jesus, the Messiah, the name above all names, the blessed Redeemer, Emmanuel, the rescue for sinners, the ransom from heaven, Jesus, Messiah, Lord of all. Do you believe that? Do you believe that Jesus is here with us? He is sitting beside you like the woman at the well. And maybe you're wondering if it's too good to be true. Maybe you feel like you've been too defiled. You're too far from anything. You don't deserve to have anything from Jesus. But know that Jesus is there. He is inviting you to know him, to worship him in spirit and in truth. He is offering you that living water that refreshes your soul, that brings up a well of true life in you. He is saying, I am he. I am all that you need, all that you will ever need. So as we worship God this morning, as you spend time with him throughout your week, as you make your way through each day, maybe you're feeling unworthy or unaccepted. Maybe you feel that God is far from you. Remember this woman at the well, who was despised and rejected by the people around her. And yet, Jesus chose her. He chose her specifically because he loved her. And he invited her to go into the town and to declare with great joy, could this be the man who told me everything I ever did? Could this be the Messiah? Jesus says, I am he. And he invites you to worship him in spirit and in truth, in heart and in mind, because he is our Messiah. He is our Lord of all.